I get it. It's been almost a month since I made my Gianni Fairbrother video, and now this is the Jacob LeGuerrier video. I have been pushing myself to wanting to make videos on all of the Habs prospects from the 2019 NHL Entry Draft, so I apologize for the long space in between these videos. However, I will say that this space is not out of a lack of care. And mostly it's because Jacob LeGuerrier is a prospect that I had a really difficult time actually understanding and going through and building up a personal profile in my mind that I felt accurately displayed the profile that he displays on the ice. So I had to actually go through a ton of articles, search up his name everywhere, and read all I could about this guy in order to actually understand and formulate an idea of what I wanted to say. All the guys that the Canadiens drafted, even the guys after, Rhett Pitlick, the guys like Arsen Kisamutinov, guys later on in the draft like Raphael Harvey-Pinard, there's so much that I want to talk about with these players, but LeGuerrier does not have that profile. So who is Jacob LeGuerrier, taken by the Montreal Canadiens 126th overall in the 5th round of the 2019 NHL Entry Draft? Well, he is a November 2000 born left-handed defenseman out of the Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds in the OHL. He's one of the bigger guys that the Canadiens took in the draft, 6'3", 198 pounds. Well, why was this guy taken in the 5th round of the entry draft? It's because he only had 16 points in 68 Greyhounds games. That's a very low points per game, and sure, it's an increase over what he did last season in 2017-2018, where in 62 games played he had 11 assists, but LeGuerrier is a guy who, it took a really long time, it took like 100 games for him to actually get his first OHL goal, and he's been playing in the OHL for quite some time. In fact, he started out his OHL career in 2016-2017, back when he was a 16-year-old. So that's pretty nice, but the fact of the matter is here, LeGuerrier is a player whose profile, his immediate numbers on the ice do not pop out at you, because there isn't a lot to make you go, this guy looks amazing. So what exactly does LeGuerrier bring, and who is he? He's a player who brings mostly defensive soundness. He's more effective on the rush coming back towards his own net because his gap control and his play with the stick is very solid. He's built his way up on a Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds defensive core that included other pretty good defensive players on their squad, guys like Mac Holloway, Jordan Sambrook, and LeGuerrier was able to fight his way onto the roster into a consistent top 4 role throughout the years. From the 16-year-old back then when he debuted up until the 18-year-old he was now, he was able to establish a solid role for himself. And with some of these guys like Holloway and Sambrook and all that coming off the books and not being on the Greyhounds in the next few years, it'll give LeGuerrier an opportunity to really showcase himself at a higher standard. But LeGuerrier, right off the bat, his game is not an offensive game. He's mostly defensive, he's mostly a shutdown guy, and he's more of a safe, puck-moving defenseman who doesn't really rack up the assists, but can really take the play into his own hands in the defensive zone. Say what you want about the Canadiens picking this player, and whether or not they should have picked guys with higher offensive upside, but LeGuerrier is a guy who has showcased some good tools that are translatable at an NHL level. Obviously though, as a guy who was drafted in the 5th round, you can't expect a whole bunch. Now, I did come across a few articles here and there that do label LeGuerrier as a player who does have a potentially higher offensive ceiling. Now, we haven't been in a position so far to definitively say, yeah, that's very much true, but as I said, LeGuerrier being on a team with other good defensive players and a lot of good offensive defensemen It's really going to give him an opportunity to shine once these defensemen move on towards the later portions of their careers. But for now, LeGuerrier is a guy who's really good at analyzing the ice, really good at acknowledging the opponents coming down on their 2-on-1s or their 2-on-2s and all that, and he's really good at patiently staking out the opponent, waiting for them to make a move and then using his good stick to swat the puck away or using his body to hold up the guy. He's a pretty good defensive defenseman and a guy who's pretty alright at shutting the play down. He's been in the OHL for so long that he's built up this experience that allows him to just shut down the play whenever he needs to. And when it comes to the other way around, he's got a pretty good sense of vision, scanning the ice and sending the puck up. Sure, he didn't rack up a ton of assists, but the guys like Morgan Frost and Barrett Hayton, they mostly played with guys like Sambrook and Holloway, so they racked up all the assists. Whereas LeGuerrier, he was just more of a useful transitioning tool. So say what you want about the potential, I think best case scenario, this left-handed defenseman comes out as a bottom pairing 7 defenseman in the league. Surely, I think he does have the tools to project a little bit higher than that, but for right now, I don't necessarily know where the offensive ceiling with LeGuerrier lies, but I do know that he does have some pretty okay defensive shutdown tools. So that pretty much wraps up the little video I have here on LeGuerrier. Next up, we'll be taking a look at Rhett Pitlick, who, that's gonna take a lot of stuff because I think there's so much to say about Rhett Pitlick, it's not gonna take a long time to really formulate a good video out of that, but hope you enjoyed this video, so 9, and bye.